Our first and last review of the day is going to be for the film Ne Zha 2. Ne Zha 2 there right now is the biggest animated film to ever exist. There has been no other animated films that have been as big as this. This animated film has crossed $2 billion. So yeah, it is the highest grossing animated film of all time there. It surpassed, I think the previous one was Inside Out 2, which was like into the first Inside Out or Inside Out 2 that had 1.5 billion or something like that. So let's beat it. And this is a huge sensation in China. This is a Chinese film. This is how I heard about the film, just due to how big the box office was, how much money it was making there. I think it made $1 billion in the first 11 days that this movie was out. Um,
God
so
damn.
so this is an incredibly popular franchise there over in China. I was able to see it in theaters. They are. I don't think it's out right now in theater. I think they maybe stopped it, but I saw it in IMAX
I think
there.
it had a limited run in American theaters, but the fact that it released here at all is still like that's a big deal.
Yeah. So I was able to see it, saw it in IMAX there, and all the glory there of this film. And what is this movie about? So this movie, like I said, being a sequel, and usually you don't want to see a sequel before you see the first movie, but I end up doing that. I saw the sequel here. I plan on going back and revisiting and watching the first movie again. So if my review comes off a little bad, it's because I have not seen the first film there. But Sage has seen the first film, and not only has he seen the first film, but he's also seen the very original Inja there from the 70s there. So he's also seen that as well. So that'd be good to get his brain and pick his brain about this, and kind of catch any gaps I have watching this sequel. So what is this film about? So you have it says here, after a catastrophe, although the souls of Inja and Obing were saved, their bodies would soon be shattered. So you have these two characters here, one who possesses the inside their body the demon orb, and then the other character who possesses the pearl orb, and they were swapped, which you saw the events of that in the first movie. So
They were like originally like one being that was like split and then reincarnated, basically, and that's how you get these two characters.
Okay. So you see in this movie, it's a journey for them to regain their bodies again, and then so them to, because not right now they're just in, what's the word, corporeal? Is that the word there, or
Oh, incorporeal, yeah.
incorporeal form there? So there's kind of just ghosts floating around, so they need actual physical form, and they have to go to kind of get this special ingredient that can resurrect their body. And then in the midst of doing that, you also have their village, which is in danger of being destroyed, especially Inja, the demon child. His village there with his parents is this opposition force that are coming and go like, okay, if you don't actually help resurrect the body of my son, then we're going to come and we're going to use our dragons to destroy this town and lay it to waste. So that also adds some more stakes to the mission there. Yeah, am I missing anything in particular there?
No, that seems like you're getting everything, all the basic setup. The only thing is the opposing force. It's not just that they're going to use their dragons; they are dragons. Like they have like an army of like demons, but it actually is like dragons that then like shift into human form. But they are like a species unto themselves here.
Yeah. And so yeah, you see that kind of play out through the movie. This movie also is kind of longer for an animated film. This is about over two
Right?
hours, which is typically you don't see that for
Is it
animated
two
films.
and a half? I thought right, like
Yeah.
almost, yeah, like 2:35 maybe.
Yeah. So there's a lot of story to tell here, with that kind of going on. Ulysses said, this movie takes place like between like maybe a couple hours after the first one ends.
Yeah. It's like it picks up like pretty much immediately where the first one ends, very quickly, and it kind of just hits the ground running. And I do feel like there's a lot of character building in the first one, especially between these two characters, who then their bodies need to be recreated right at the beginning here. There's a lot of character and relationship building that I don't think is recapped at all in the second one. So I guess
Okay.
that's a curiosity of mine, is to see like how much did that relationship necessarily come across without the first movie to kind of build it up and have that established.
Yeah, I felt that there was a strong relationship between the 2 of the characters, like, they have this history together, I did feel that, especially at one point where they have to actually share the body, and you see kind of the one character that's the demon is this kind of ugly, kind of pig face kinda character there, which they kinda remark
Like a
about
little
with the
gremlin.
little gremlin there. Yeah, they kinda look like that, but then the one who has the pearl orb there, Obing, I think is how you pronounce it, or
Bing.
Obing.
Yeah, forgive us on the pronunciations. I'm going off of just how they sound when I heard them.
Yeah, so he's the beautiful, gorgeous divinity creation there that you kinda got there, as opposed to them, so you see that kinda dynamic there, but I kinda got that there was a strong connection between the 2 of them there, and this is based on a novel there from the 16th century, Investor of the
Mhm.
Gods there is what it's called there. Do you know that piece of work?
Only just the title, and I've only just because I looked it up a little bit after I saw the movie.
Okay. So, Sage, what are your thoughts on Ninja 2?
Well, like I said, I think there's a lot of building that the first movie does to kind of set the ground for this, but I do think the second one really does hit the ground running. There's a lot more going on here than I think I would have expected based off the first movie. The first one, I think, feels maybe a little bit more of the kind of like, here's a kind of conventional modern Disney movie kind of trope animated family film. And the first film has its dark moments too, and I think it's a good kids film. But I think it kind of graduates to another level of, well, I mean, I honestly can't say I've seen like this level of epic fantasy done for children in a while. I mean, what the '90s Hercules is the last
Well, there was
thing I can
Shrek,
think of.
Shrek, 4, yeah.
I don't know about epic mythology on that one, but no, I mean, I really I think this manages to juggle a surprising and impressive number of different elements here, and I mean that it's like you said, it's 2.5 hours long, so there is a lot going on here, and it has quite a bit to get through. It tells me that maybe Chinese kids have a higher and longer attention span than American kids, because I feel like the kids that like I have that like is like relatives in my family, I don't think they'd sit still for that long.
Even with all that's going on in the movie, because at
I
first
mean,
it
I think they'd be mesmerized, but like, I mean, you could have the most crazy movie like on screen, and I mean, feel like some of the kids in this country are like, well, I gotta look at my phone at the same time, and I can't. I gotta get up and walk around, and like, I see that like real intensely.
mm, um, Ulysses says all that Chinese, schooling pays off at last. You got that. So yeah, this story, it starts off as a road trip type movie. Like I said, they have to get like this mystical item to cure the flower because this mystic can only bring back the one person's body if he can get the thing to resurrect. I think they called it the lotus or the
Yeah, it's like a White Lotus because basically at the beginning they're creating new bodies for both of these characters, and then the city gets attacked, like a war just is like starts to break out between these two factions, and they interrupt the resurrection process, which of course then this Lotus is damaged and unusable, and the only way to heal it so that they can have another attempt at performing the spell is to go and find this divine kind of healing, mystical artifact, so that they can have another chance. Because if they don't have bodies, the incorporeal kind of spirit forms of these characters, they will like fade. Like the spirits will kind of fade off and die. So there's also a bit of a like a race against the clock element going on too.
yeah. So you got that, and then like you said, if because the race against the clock, not only will their bodies disappear, but also if you don't return, because I think they give them what like 7 days if you don't come back in like 7 days.
Yeah,
that will destroy the whole city and will kill everybody
Yeah.
in the city with the dragons and everything. And you see, like, when they try to fight back, when it's like their army versus like this demon army, they get washed. They get it's just like not even close. They can't even kill one of them. So it's like, yeah, it's pretty bad there.
I mean, hey, portals to hell opened up just all over the city. I mean, I got it like right there. Visual imagery of this is really, I think, right off the bat, very impressive. I mean, just holes in the sky with like lava waterfalls like falling out like in front of their cap. I mean, it's pretty epic, honestly. Like very quickly, very early on.
Oh yeah, he like there's this one character who's the right hand man of the main villain that you see early on, who kind of cuts. He uses the sword to kind of cut into the sky, and like you said, all lava falls out, dragons come pouring out. What did you think about the animation? Is this the kind of one of the more impressive animation we've seen from an animated movie recently? I know, recently we've seen things like Spider Verse, and we just mentioned Puss in Boots when we were talking about Shrek. That also had very impressive animation. What did you think about this animation? We normally see that anime influence there in Western animation, great animation when it comes from anime, but this is a Chinese production. What do you think about the animation here?
I think the animation is great. So I'll say for the first movie, there's times when like some of the characters' faces can look a little basic in the first one. Like maybe not like current DreamWorks, but like maybe DreamWorks like 5, 10 years ago. But I think there was a huge uptick, a huge improvement for the second one's animation. I think it looks very good. The characters are very expressive. It reminds me of like if like a Pixar movie comes out, like how kind of polished and high quality those look. I mean, at the end of the film too, like I sat through the credits and there's so many production company logos in the credits. I'm like, damn, I feel like it's like I think two billion people might have worked on animating this movie.
And the budget on this movie, so 600 million yen is the Chinese number, but so that converts to 80 million US dollars. So,
Okay, and that's not that high a budget for how good this looks. So
yeah.
that's impressive to me.
Ulysses said Inja 1 has some really nice landscapes here and there. Inja 2 is gorgeous all around.
one hundred
Uh,
percent agree.
yeah, and I mean, when you say, like I said, slow start at the beginning there, get into the story, but then towards the back half of it, towards like the hour on from the movie, when you get past the halfway point, it's really nothing but action. I mean, you just watch
Yeah.
it. It's like it turns into kind of like Dragon Ball Z, where you're watching characters fight in the sky and they get knocked all over the place, and dragons come out, and it's
Like the scale of what starts to happen in this film is like the craziest space, like some of the crazier space battles of like some of the Green Lantern comics that I have on my shelf, or like, stuff that I mean, stuff I don't know if I've ever seen translated into, certainly not live action. But some of these just like, I mean, there's like what seems like literally millions of characters on screen at the same time at certain points.
Yeah, because like, you have another situation where it's another army going up against another army, and it's like, it looks like 1,000,000 of them versus another 1,000,000 of these people, and they're all clashing together, and it
and
doesn't.
and I was like giant like swaths of blood just falling out of the sky from like in between these like flying
Mm,
crowds of soldiers. Like that's another thing too. That I think I was very. It's the first one is like yeah maybe it has some dark moments here and there, but it's I think pretty safe as far as like that sort of thing goes. I was surprised at how dark this one allowed itself to get at times. And again with the blood and like people do die and it doesn't feel like it doesn't hold back in that regard.
yeah. Um, Goofy moments early on. There's some, like, when I was talking to you about the movie, like, you bring
Yeah.
up, other animated projects you could compare it to American, kinda DreamWorks-esque type humor there, like,
Yeah.
you have fart jokes, you got.
Stuff like Shrek pulling the wax candle out of his ear. It's similar to that kind of gross
Yeah.
like
Piss
bodily.
jokes,
Yeah.
bodily fluids. There's a scene where the character eats his own vomit and vomits
Yeah.
there. That stuff is kinda gross, but, kids, gross out humor type like that.
It's yeah. I mean, I don't like it. That is probably it. That's my biggest negative, honestly. But I get that it's there for the audience that it's a target for. So I can kind of put it out of my mind. But it's certainly for me, it's a little bit of a hindrance.
Yeah, so there it doesn't kind of they if that's mostly for the kids there. Some humor works with the older audiences too that you can do that with, but here it's very
There's
like
a puke moment where it's like a rock monster throws up and it throws up little pebbles, and I'm like that. I was like, okay, well that's kind of funny. Like there's stuff that does work for adults too.
yeah, like, that was cute. That was kinda cute there, they do with that. But yeah, so you do have that kinda about that. Ulysses said here, "The biggest plus I can say about Ninja 2's humor is there less of it than in Ninja 1." So Ninja 1, there's a lot more of that kinda going on, piss jokes?
Yeah, so I watched both of these movies the same day, so they blended together a little bit in certain like whereas like was that joke in this movie or this movie? So there was a little tricky for me to remember where some of them were. Um, I think honestly, looking back, I feel like there's a similar amount in each movie, but what I think makes it seem like there's maybe less in the second one is how much longer the second one is. And there's so much more other things to break those moments up that it maybe feels less prominent, if
Uh,
that makes sense.
yeah, okay, I get what you're saying there. Um And the dynamic between the 2 of them, kinda bouncing off each other is also really good there. I thought and also it's kind of fun. So, I thought that was kind of a good element there too, and also just introducing me to this world there, this mythology I'm not used to kinda seeing there before was also, something kind of very intriguing there. How did you feel about that?
Oh, 100%. 100% agree with you. Some of these like locations and just like places they go to, the vistas that you see, just the art direction and design of the environments is there were certain moments where they'd go to a new place and I'd kind of be stunned a little bit, honestly, at times. I was like, wow, I've never seen something that looks quite like that before. And yeah, I mean, it is a window into a whole mythology that, like you said, I'm not familiar with either. So it is this whole new thing, and I think they were able to present it in, both a way for kids for sure, to get like the attention span of kids, but there's enough there with some of the darker moments, and again with just the number of elements that's being juggled all at once that like I think that this movie works on not just like a purely for kids level. I think this works for slightly older kids and even like adults. If you like animation, like me, I'm just an animation nerd. Sometimes I'll watch a piece of animation and I don't even care about the story, and I really am there for just the way that it looks. If you even appreciate animation kind of like that, I think you would like this.
Mm. It's got everything. I think it's got great emotion into it when it has to be very emotional and dramatic. I think it very succeeds at that, and even someone like me, like I said, I didn't watch the first film. Like, with the stuff with Inja and his parents, I thought that was really
Mm,
well done and kinda
yeah.
well handled there, and it made me really feel for him with, what happens with his parents and kinda that. I thought that was really well done. I think the action here is incredibly thrilling. Ulysses said, "I get the impression Ninja 1 was for kids, Ninja 2 is more for young teens."
That makes sense because the movies themselves have are the first one was 2019. This is 2025. If you're making it for the same audience that saw that first movie, they're 6 years older, right? So just go a little, you know.
Yeah. Both movies still have stuff for adults, yeah, but it just was impressive, yeah, watching this, action, especially when you said, like, there's a lot going on the screen at once, and it doesn't look like you're still able to see kinda what's happening, even
Yeah,
though there's so much kinda going on, and I think that's really impressive.
yeah. It never becomes too chaotic. It's like choreographed well to where it's always clear. Like it's not like a Michael Bay movie where it's like all the little explosions are getting too close to the camera and in your face. It's like, no, no, it's can always consistently very clear what's going on, who's doing what, where people are. Like, really, really well choreographed.
Yeah. Any big downsides for you with this movie?
I'd say, I mean, for me, it really is just the big number one is I just think some of the humor that is aimed for the younger kids. I just really don't care for the gross out humor, toilet humor. That stuff bugs me. I kind of every time something like that happens, I'm like, ugh, all right. Like it takes me out of it. It does. But outside of that, I mean, I think this is really strong in pretty much every other way. I mean, I guess if I was to, if there's anything else I was going to say is there's like a big emotional scene in the third act that I think they do a bit of a flashback thing in the middle of it where it's like the moment's kind of sad enough, and then they do like a scene of like a flashback montage, and I'm like, you're laying it on a little thick with the flashbacks. I feel like you didn't need that, but that's a relatively minor thing. Like I'd say that's a nitpick more than like a major problem.
Mm, okay. Besides for me, yeah, I mean, besides for the humor for me, I think that's the only real kind of big downside there. Like, there's some funny moments. I mean, it's just that stuff, not particularly like the piss stuff,
Yeah,
there, that kind of stuff there. It's yeah, I see your point there with that. But, yeah, I mean, even though this is a longer movie that you don't expect from an animated film at 2 hours and like 2 hours and 30 minutes, still, I think it does well with the pacing of the time there, telling this
yeah.
story, the narrative, how it kind of progresses there. And just like
It
I
didn't
said,
feel that long,
did not feel that long. And I think this is gonna be a trilogy, so they're gonna do another one, so it does
certainly.
leave off there. And there's a
There's
revel
also another movie that came out in between these two, and I'm forgetting what the name is, but it's on Peacock on streaming. And I don't think it connects directly, but it is the same studio, and I think it is meant to be taking place in the same universe, but it's based on like a different myth. So
okay.
they're kind of seem like they're building a little bit of a universe too. Now, again, I don't know if it's going to have like a connective story or if it's just here's our take on each of these things, but
Is it Inja, New Gods? New Gods Inja
no,
Reborn? Is
I
that
think that's a separate thing.
okay. So it's a whole
I'll
cinematic,
see if I can.
universe
I
of
think it's called
Inja
the
mythology.
Feng Shen Cinematic Universe. I think is what people are calling it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm missing out on okay, I got a whole universe to catch up on. Okay, I got you. I gotta d
Luckily, there's only three movies. Ne Zha 1, 2, and then this other one. Um,
okay.
let's see, I'm trying to find what it's called. Jing Zia, which again, I'm sure I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, but
Oh, so this right here? Let me see.
how would you find it?
This?
Uh, no, that's something else. That's a separate film.
Okay. Jing's oh, is this it? So you said Jing Zia?
Yeah, it was a 2020 movie.
So this one?
That looks like that. Yeah, that I think that's the right one.
Okay. So this looks pretty good. Looks like some different animation they're doing with this one.
Yeah, it looks like
Right.
they're experimenting with different styles and different movies. So I would like to sit and watch this as well. This is the only one I guess I haven't seen.
Okay.
But there was a in the credits for the first movie. There's like a teaser for this.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this looks really good. The animation looks really good in this. Yeah. You got Qui-Gon Jinn, he's in this. Looks like he's he's in this Qui-Gon Jinn.
Damn, Liam Neeson really gets all over the place, huh?
Yeah, hey man. Hey, just like John Cena, man. He's trying to get them China bucks, just like him, man. Yeah, this was it was a great experience. Like I said, experience this. I went over to Red Note there, see what people were saying about that. And they seemed pretty hyped about it there. For some reason, when I interact with some of the people, they asked me for my social security number. I don't know why, but they asked me for that. But yeah, it seemed like a lot of people there enjoyed it. They enjoyed it. They loved it a lot. So that the excitement there is great. So it's always good to get an insight on something people are really hyped about, really excited about, so people have something really big about, so that's awesome.
Yeah,
I like this. Like I said, I like the experience and the myth and the culture and the mythology here of this world. I'd give it a strong peak for me. I really liked it a lot. What about you?
same. Yeah. I'd give it a strong peak as well. If they didn't have any of the gross out humor and maybe cut those flashbacks down just a little bit, I could even see going up that point higher. But even with those, couple of things which ultimately are small in the scope of the whole thing, I thought this was a really great experience. I'm really glad I went out and saw this in the theater. And I feel like it was on a whim almost. We started talking about this movie, and I was like, okay, let me give it a check and just see what's going on. And I think I watched the '70s one late at night, and then the next day I rented one. on Amazon Prime, and then I immediately went to the theater and watched the second one. So it was like I squeezed it all into one little short span of time.
Mm, awesome. Well, I got some catching up to do, so I'm gonna go definitely go back, watch the first one. I'm gonna watch the '79 film, and I'm gonna watch these other films there, the Jing Zha, and also yeah. So I'm
I
gonna.
heard people saying like they might even be doing a like Sun Wukong thing at some point. So I mean, you might even get the Monkey King or like this studio's version of it.
Okay, very awesome. So we're gonna get a maybe yeah. I'd like to see Wukong in this animation style. Would you like to see that? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, why not? I mean, it's reminiscent of like kind of like you said that Pixar kind of DreamWorks kind of 3D animation feel, but it seems like they're doing a good job with it. So yeah, why not?
Awesome. So, uh, two peaks for Ninja 2.